Okay, so now we have our assembly. We're going to insert this decaville, fusible side down, that's the shiny side, or when I say down I mean towards the exterior. So we don't want to put it in that way, so we've got to put it in this way. Make sure you don't go up into this middle section here, you've got to go into the body part. Check for fit, if it all feels good, it's not too big. Then you need to make sure that all the lining seams, all the seams are on the lining side. And we're going to put that decaville underneath the exterior seam allowance of the opening as well. And it is a bit fiddly, and it's especially fiddly when I'm trying to do it in front of a camera, trying to keep my head out of the video. Can feel that the lining seams are coming towards the lining there. You can flip it over and double check by feeling. That feels good. So now we're going to fuse it into place. I generally like to do that with my press, but we'll do it with the iron today. I like to use a pressing cloth. Flip it over. Nice. Fuse. Finished. And then I just allow it to cool before I proceed. Okay, so now we're going to install our snap into our tab. Most snaps come with 4 pieces. You have these 2 which go into the body, so that'll be installed in there. And you've got the other 2 pieces, the button piece, which will be installed into the tab. So you want to make sure that you get the button on this side, not on that side. I've done that before. So we put our little tab, our little snap that side down, and in this machine this goes this side, clicks into place. Now that's the button side down, so we need to make sure we know which way this is going. So I'm going to stick that into a little hole that we made before, and whoops. And there we have our button in our tab. So now I need to install this part into here. So making sure that's out of the road, I'm just going to clip that to make sure that that stays out of the way. Okay, so now we're going to measure and find the halfway mark. One and a half centimeters or 5/8 of an inch down. Just double check that you've got that in the center. So now before I go away and punch a hole, I'm going to put a bit of double-sided tape in here, because I don't want my lining to shift when I'm punching a hole, because that would be not very neat. And I just find that this is a good way to make it hold. Always add a couple of clips to make sure. Now I'm going to go and punch that. As always, when I've punched a hole, I like to add a bit of fray stopper. Now I need a different die in the machine. So swap those over. Just make sure you've worked out which piece goes like into which side, because that one goes through there, so that's on the bottom. There. Now we have a tab, starting to look a little bit like a wallet. Now it's time to mark the location of your flip lock or twist lock. I'm using a twist lock because I don't have a flip lock on hand. First thing I do is find the center of my flap. That was my dog snoring. Then I use the backing plate to get that mark using a friction pen. Now I'm going to go away and cut that out. I use a hole punch to get most of that away, and then just finish up with a really sharp pointy scissors. Err on the side of too small rather than too big. It's always better to take a little bit less off and test it, and then go back and take a little bit more if you need to. Now I actually like to stitch around this a bit just to make it a little bit more stable. Pretty close to the edges. Doesn't have to be exact. Just if you can get a few stitches on there just to hold it. Once you're happy that you have got your hole the right size and you've stitched around the edges just to stabilize it, then it's time to add some fray stopper. You don't have to do this, but I like to be sure that this is going to be nice and secure. Just leave that dry for 5 minutes. Now, I like to add glue. I use the E6000 glue. You can use Gutermann glue or whatever glue that you have that glues metal to fabric. I've used this before. Here we go. Make sure you're getting the right side onto the exterior of your wallet. I also add some to the backing plate. You don't want a ton because you don't want it to be spread everywhere. I'm just going to let that dry and then I will go along and remove any bits of thread that might be there after it's dried. So we'll set that aside for now. Okay, so now we want to install the other half of our flip lock or twist lock into the front of our wallet. First thing to do is clip this center piece of the wallet out of the way so we don't get a hole in it or get it in the road. Now we need to center this left to right, 6.6 centimeters or 2 5/8 of an inch down from the top. Some people like to adjust that measurement depending on if they carry a lot of stuff. They might find that they need to move the twist lock up a little bit. Just depends on how much stuff you carry. so that's my centre. Now I'll put that there. I've already checked that I'm using the outside holes according to these prongs. And now I'm just going to make a slit through all of that with my stitch rib. Be careful not to cut too far. Some people like to stick a pin in there to make sure they can't cut too far. I live dangerously. Okay. It's a little crooked. Once you're happy with the location of that, and you've got it all sorted, put a bit of fray stopper on there. On the other side too. I actually put a bit of glue on there as well. Now I like to put some scraps of interfacing over the top of that to protect the lining from wear. You don't see this because it's got lining stitched onto it, so I just grab my ham. Makes it easier to fuse with that lump in the road. And there, now we're just going to leave that aside for all the glue to dry. We'll get on with something else.